Hi again. Um, I'm picking up on my story now. I have a new guy in my life. Before I start that, I just want to mention because Tiger Woods has been on the news, he's in the Masters. I didn't even see how he did, but he came back into the Masters, and I just wanted to mention about that I did go with my ex-husband, Mark, uh, to the one tournament he was in Atlanta. It was the PGA Bell South, um, and we followed him all around the course. So that was kind of cool. I got to see him up close, and just wanted to mention that. Another thing I did. Okay, so after I went on Match.com, decided I did want to, try to get another guy. Um, I told you I met one that was very nice and I was liking him. But what happened was that one day I was at the pool in my apartments there where I was living with my mom. And I was at my pool and there was this guy uh, who I noticed because he was so good looking. He was really, really good looking. And I was just admiring him from the other side of the pool. I labeled him in my brain married with children. He definitely looked a lot younger than me. I wasn't thinking anything more than like, wow, that's a good looking guy right there. Probably has a nice wife and family, I'm sure. Well, he came over and sat down next to me and he said, "Are you born again?" And it kind of blew me away that, he would just come over out of the clear blue sky and even talk to me at all, but to say that. So I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am." And he said, "I could tell." He said, overheard, I couldn't help but overhearing conversation you were having with the lady in the pool. He said, "I could tell that you were a born again Christian." He said, "So I had to come over and talk to you." And then he told me that he was a pastor and that he just started to tell me about his life, and it was just remarkable how what he was going through so much was the same as what I was going through. He told me that he had just moved in with his sister and he was from another state. He had three boys, teenage boys, in that other state, and that he was a pastor and his wife had an affair, more than an affair. I mean, she had a boyfriend, and it just devastated him. He left the church. He was depressed. It affected him physically. Um, Everything. It was really bad, just like, I mean, very similar to what I went through. For me, it was kind of a combination of my two marriages because my first marriage was the one where my husband was the head elder in the church, and all this happened with him having an affair. If you haven't seen, you need to go back and see that. Way back in my second season. Uh, and my second husband was the recent one that I was, yeah, still, recovering from the trauma of the divorce, the stress and all. It was really affecting me physically and mentally, every way. And he was telling me that he had so many similar things happen to him. So we both, of course, we felt like God put us together. Thing was that he was 12 years younger than me. And, that to me, that was a problem. He told me that he liked older women and his wife was a few years older than him. And, he said he was always attracted to older women and all. So anyway, I started seeing him and I broke it off with the other guy that I had met on Match.com, which I probably should have stuck with, I guess. Sometimes it's hard to call when you're trying to follow God's way. Um, Sometimes it can get confusing. It's hard to know. Uh, just gotta have patience and stick with it and keep praying, I guess. But worldly things get in the way, and it's just hard to know. Well, I started seeing this guy, and we just started having a good old time. And we were just um, we were having a good time. And um, at first, that's all I was thinking about. I thought, all I could think of was this guy is so hot. He's so good looking, and he likes me, and I'm not going to pass this up, really. And honestly, I was thinking like that. And I thought, I'm just going to have fun and enjoy this while I can. And that's what I was doing. And I don't know what he was thinking, of course, but we did talk about God a lot and all that. And but he now I mentioned to him about smoking pot because I just was in the mood that I was in a place where I just wanted to have some fun. And I always associated smoking weed with having fun. Although I told you I was abstinent from everything. I mean, from, any, from alcohol and any kind of drugs for many, many years. But I did feel like I wanted to smoke pot with this guy. And he told me that he hardly ever did. I mean, he was a pastor. And he said, yeah, he tried it a couple times when he was a teenager, but he never really got into it. And he really had a strong calling for the ministry. And I do believe that was sincere. That was true because he preached to me many, many times, and he was a good preacher, a really good preacher. But we had some theological differences, and we used to argue a lot about that. He came from a church that was similar to the Seventh-day Adventist church. It was a Fundamentalist Baptist church, which was very similar to Seventh-day Adventist, very legalistic, very much obeying, keeping the laws and doing everything just right, and you know, all of that. And it was more about that than God's love and forgiveness and mercy, which I was learning from North Point Church, um, Andy Stanley's church, non-denominational, where I was into that. I still am. I believe that God is love. He is love. He's the epitome of love. And um, the fundamentalist Baptists, like this guy, I'm going to call him Pablo. Um, and he was not Hispanic, blue eyes, like strawberry blonde hair, very fair skin. Anyway, he, you know, was very much about very legalistic, and he was always beating himself up for, called himself backslidden, because he was seeing me, and we were having a lot of fun. And he was doing some, I mean, he, like me, I was at the place where I was drinking a glass of wine in the evenings with my dinner, and, sometimes two glasses, not rarely ever more than that. But, and he didn't drink. He wasn't drinking at all, but he, when he did drink, he started drinking with me, but he would be more like a binger on the weekend. He wouldn't drink all week, where I would have a glass of wine with dinner almost all the time. He wouldn't drink all week, but on Saturday night or Friday night, um, whatever was the party night, he would drink um, a lot, and that's a binge. Um, so we started smoking weed a little bit. And well, I hadn't been, I only smoked with my ex-husband Mark probably 3 times in 10 years. Um, and, but I was wanting to, you know, and I think I did with that one guy that I dated from Match.com that I liked. I did with him. And then, I just mentioned it to Pablo, and he was like, yeah, he said he knew someone in his apartments that he thought he could probably get some from, and so we started doing that. And then he learned how to make brownies. So we would eat a brownie. I mean, I think he ate more than one maybe, but I would eat like one brownie, and they were strong. Um, we would be together either Friday or Saturday night. I wouldn't usually see him during the week, just on the weekends, and we would party, have a good old time. And usually the next day we would usually get into a big discussion, and he would get onto his preaching soapbox, and I would argue with him about, because he would preach what a lot of Baptists do is he would preach from a viewpoint of trying to get people to accept Jesus Christ as their Savior out of fear of the judgment, out of fear of God, of fear of going to hell. And my opinion and my view is that's the wrong way. The opposite is the way to draw people to Christ, to God through love. Love and mercy and forgiveness and grace is um, what we should be focusing on. And um, the two greatest commandments were love God with all your heart and soul and love your neighbor as yourself. And if you follow those two, everything is covered. Don't have to worry about every little detail, because it's love is the most important thing. And I believe the Bible teaches that. But all he wanted to do was argue with me all the time. And he was, I mean, he was, he went to Bible college. He has a PhD in theology. And he did say to me that I knew the Bible better than any woman he ever met before. So I felt good about that. And, I guess that's why he did allow me to argue with him, but he was not good about it. I hate arguing. I don't like it. I don't believe God wanted it. um, you know, he was always beating me down and didn't let me get my fair time in, and it was not good. That was the worst thing about the relationship, and it happened every week. Believe me, every week we had a great fun time, and before he left for the work week coming up, it was always the argument over theology, which was so ridiculous. But anyway, I was with this guy um, for quite a while, and he, I'll tell you, the first 2 years were just like I told you. After the 2 years, I have to say that I did fall in love with him. I realized I just came to it happened gradually, but somehow I came to the realization that I really do love this guy. We've been together 2 years, and it started out, um, you know, he was just a hot guy that I was going to have fun with, but then I realized I'm really in love with this man. It always bothered me, though, his age, and I didn't want to marry him because he had 3 teenage boys that I didn't want to be their stepmother. I had just got out of all that, and my kids were grown now, and I didn't want to go back to having 3 teenage boys, and they did have some issues, some serious issues, like many teenage boys do, um, that he was always dealing with. And then the other thing, well, the thing that wasn't so good, a few things about our relationship also was that it was mostly party time at night, because I like to do things outdoors. in nature. I love nature. I like to take hikes and I like to just be sitting in the sunshine and all that kind of thing. I love the beach and the pool. And turns out he just went to the pool, I don't know, out of boredom that day I met him, or he was just trying to meet people or what, but it was not his thing. He didn't like being in the sunshine at all. He didn't like being outdoors too much because in the daytime it was the sunshine, at night it was bugs. Um, we were in Atlanta where it's good weather, it's warm half the year and all that. It's not like a lot of cold happening. So, anyway, he did not want to do things outdoors. He was not into music as much as me. I actually, and that's part of that age difference because he was 12 years younger than me. So, and his mother was only 4 years older than me because she had him very young. She was only 4 years older than me. She had him when she was 16. And when I would bring up songs that I really loved from the 60s, they were his memories when he was a, just a really little kid and from his mother. And he would say things like, oh yeah, I remember my mom used to play that song. My mom used to sing that song. My mom used to like that song. And then, whenever I mention anything about those hippie days, my days when I was in high school and all that, and he would just relate it to his mother. So that was kind of weird for me being his girlfriend. And we couldn't do all the outdoor things that I love to do. He wouldn't go to concerts with me. We I turned him on to Bob Dylan. I turned him on to Moody Blues, Pink Floyd. Uh, you know, he was more into 80s and 90s music, and I was more into 60s and 70s. Um, so I he didn't have much money. He had a good job. He's a really smart man, and he had a good job. I think he should have had a better paying job because he could have done a lot. He could have gone far in a corporate career, but I don't think he even realized how much he could be making in Atlanta because he came from a different place and out of state, and he just grabbed a job real quick. But he was supporting, you know, three kids and a home basically in another state. So he didn't have money to be taking me out much. Um, he was also used to eating a different way than me. He would eat anything I cooked, but um, you know, I didn't really like eating the way he liked to eat. So uh, anyway, we didn't go out much. He didn't have money to take me out, and I wanted to go to concerts, which he didn't like. So, but we did. I He really liked the music I turned him on to, and I bought tickets for the Moody Blues concert coming. They were coming to Chastain Park, which one is one of the best venues in Atlanta. And I was so excited. I always loved the Moody Blues from the time they first started. They were always one of my favorites. And um, he and I listened to them all the time. We loved them. And I thought it was going to be so special, and I thought that he would really love it if he could even experience a real concert for once. So I bought these tickets. I remember I paid like $65, I think, each, which was a lot for me. I didn't do that often. It was going to be real special, and got good seats at Chastain, and he told me he wouldn't go because it was summertime and he didn't want to be outside because he would sweat. It'll be hot and sweaty, and he wouldn't go. He said if it was in the inside air conditioning, he would love to go, but he would not go to an outdoor concert. How disappointing. So I took my son to that one, and we had a good time. At least I had a great time. I don't think he appreciated it as much as me, but I think he enjoyed the experience anyway. But I was so disappointed about that, and that's when I kind of realized that this guy is really not for me, but we really talked about it so much and we felt like God put us together. Um, Although it didn't seem perfect, it was far from perfect. And things went on for 7 whole years. Um, I, okay, I still have a few minutes. I guess I could tell you this. Okay, so my first husband died during this time, and it was an accident, a terrible, tragic accident. He was killed in an avalanche in California on the beach, Black's Beach, over by Torrey Pines, La Jolla. Um, he was down on the beach, rock slide, killed him. Um, Very shocking, devastating to everybody, of course, um, especially to my kids. Well, my one son, who was single, who I was closest to because my other two kids were married, and he lived closer to me, and he lived with me on and off a couple times. And he became good friends with Pablo and his three sons. His three sons actually came to visit a couple times, and they actually came to live with their dad for a while. And my son, even though my son was older than them, he became friendly with all three of them and hung out with them. And the whole bunch of us, the whole five of us, would hang out together on the weekends. And so Pablo, when my first husband, Bob, died suddenly, Pablo just stepped right in and became like a dad to my son. And I appreciated that so much, and my son needed that so much. So that just really cemented our relationship so much more. Me and Pablo felt closer to him. I felt very much in love with him. I was so thankful to have him for my son and for myself. It was just really good. I knew he was always there for me, even though we never lived together, um, only saw each other usually on the weekends. I knew he was there for me. If I ever needed him, he'd be there in a minute. And he was such a blessing to my son. So that went on for 7 years. And I'm going to end it now. This is going to be the end of my season. And next time, I'm going to start my season 4. That's when I turn 60 years old. Season 4 coming up. Thanks for watching. If you haven't seen my past episodes, catch up. Like me, subscribe, and I appreciate you very much. God bless.